My name is Esterhuizen and I work in post-production. I am currently in my third year at SAE Cape Town in the year 2019. My goal is to work in post-production in a studio where I can be part of completing sound for film and movies. I grew up always having an interest in music and sound, and from a young age I picked up instruments. I began with the violin when I was still small, which I learned up until I was around 12 or 13. From there I found the piano, which I fell in love with and have been learning ever since. I find it is easily the most versatile instrument, and it has greatly helped me in my scoring abilities to this day. Through my formal training as a pianist, I had the opportunity to learn music theory properly, which has also given me the insight to writing music properly. We are surrounded by sound almost every moment of our lives. There is so much detail in what we hear that we end up taking for granted. In film and video, when these natural sounds are lost in the mix or not even there, people can tell that something sounds unnatural. There's an art in placing something important but unnoticeable to the average viewer and even yourself. When was the last time you noticed the wind through trees during a movie scene? Or the footsteps an actor takes? All of them have been placed individually to be as unobtrusive to the viewer as possible. On their own, a single sound may appear insignificant, but stacked all as one, they create the natural dynamics that give a video the edge over others. With post-production, I love the challenge of recreating the sounds we take for granted. Details are key, and I look for every opportunity to get a sound more refined. My favorite part of post-production is creating Foley. Foley terms any natural sound that is seen on camera, created from either people or from the environment around them. This includes things such as people interacting with objects. Environmental effects are also very similar to Foley. Environmental sound focuses on things that make noise but are not necessarily seen in the picture. Doing this, it creates a whole picture that can convey meaning and tone through a scene in a movie or a film. This includes sounds such as distant traffic or people moving around off camera. Recently, my music style has moved in a more cinematic direction, since I've started working more and more in post-production. The biggest change I can think of offhand would be that I tend to track all my ideas into piano now before I start instrumentation. I think of how the instrument I'm writing for would actually play and what I'm writing, and this influences how I score. I think that it gives a more coherent sound to what I'm writing. Working with tangible instruments such as violins or cellos gives a physicality and a human feeling which synthesis cannot necessarily give. My latest project has involved me working with an animation student on an ongoing project, which has been quite different for me. I've had to make a lot of changes to my workflow in order to work the best I can alongside someone else. Doing tasks as soon as they are available to do so are among the most important changes, instead of just doing what is easier at the moment. Such as when I had to record the voiceovers first so that the animator could time her scenes to fit with them. From that point, she finished a rough copy of the animation, or an animatic, which had locked timings on scenes. That meant that the timings for each scene would not change between them and the final product. This meant that I was able to start work on the ambiences and background noises, knowing that I wouldn't need to retime them later on. I was also able to start on the soundtrack, which easily took the most time of all that I had to do. All in all, I feel post-production and composition are what I want to do with my life. This has been Esterhuizen, and I do post-production.